So, hello and welcome back, everybody, to the Gaming for Good panel discussion. We are here with Damien Marchi and the wonderful discussion. It is very important for us, for the WSA, to address this topic of gaming for good, also because Graz is like the gaming capital of Austria, and there is a huge game tech cluster of it almost that drives the industry. And now it's my big pleasure to introduce you to Damien Marchi and the panel, and Damien is going to introduce the panel speakers. Have fun.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to this Gaming for Good session. My name is Damien, and I'm joining from Paris in France, as Matthias was saying, and thanks for the introduction, Matthias. We have an amazing panel today. We have Daniela, we have Leena, we have Johanna, and we have Adrian. They will be able to introduce each of them in a very few minutes. The topic of Gaming for Good is very important because it's a topic it's very wide, and it has gained importance with the COVID pandemic of late, and we'll be able to cover all the different angles during that session today. A few words about me. I'm Damien, and I work at Vivendi, the largest entertainment company in Europe. You might not know Vivendi as a name, but I'm sure you know Taylor Swift or Drake or Billie Eilish, who are a few of the artists that are signed under Universal Music Group, or you know the Paddington Bear, and you've watched maybe the movies. They are produced by a Vivendi company, or you've played Asphalt, the video game that has been around for more than 15 years, and it's also created by a Vivendi company, Gameloft, at which I worked until a few months ago. The way we'll conduct the panel will be as follows. We'll do a round of introduction where we'll have a chat with each of our panelists, and they will respond to the same questions to start with. What type of gamer profile do they have? And what is their own definition of gaming for good? And then we'll focus with them on the different topics that we have, and then we'll also have an open conversation. And feel free to ask your questions on the chat. It will be great, and will definitely help to have a more lively conversation. So let's start right now, and I would love to introduce you to Johanna to start with. Hello, Johanna. How are you?
Hello, thank you so much for the nice introduction and for having me here.
Pleasure to have you. Where are you joining from, Johanna?
So I'm at the moment in my home office in Graz in Austria. And yeah, I mean, we are basically, almost everyone is in the home office here. I'm also teaching from here. So this is how my teaching setup looks like for the university in Graz.
You have a nice background with the wolf and from the story.
Yeah, I sharing some personal things.
Good artwork. So, Johanna, you are Associate Professor for Game Development at the Technical University of Graz. What's very interesting and what we'll talk with you on is that you both teach, but you also conduct research on games and their impact. And you also have a special focus on the new technology and also how games can be a medium for education. So it will be fantastic to hear you about those topics. You also organize the Game Dev Days, which is the largest games event in Austria. So it's like the industry conference. And well done also for having been selected by Forbes magazine as one of the 30 under 30 professionals in the field of science. So very impressive. Well done. First question to you, same question as everyone. What is your gamer profile? What type of game do you play?
Thank you so much again for the nice introduction. So I think it's fair to say that I try to play as much as I can and try to play all different sorts of games because it's sort of my job, because I can call it research and I should call it research. And I think it really is important as a, on the one hand, teacher and as an educator and researcher on the other hand, that you get a deeper understanding of everything. So to be honest, I started off with playing only AAA games and playing mainly open world role-playing games. But but I really tried, like really specifically, to try games from all around the world, play a lot of indie games and play all different kinds of genre, because this was so important for me to open my mind and also get to know different cultures. And that's also something I always try to praise. I guess that it's important to be open and try everything.
Yeah, you run already a project called Playing the World. And that's going to be, can you just share us, the top line of it, and then we'll dive deeper onto this and what you found, later. But so you tried and played games from everywhere, is that it?
Yeah, so I created this list. It's on ayearofplayingtheworld.com. It turned out a year was not enough, however, where I really tried to find games from all different countries of this world and try to play them. So it's not finished yet. I'm still collecting, I'm still looking for, but this was for me, I thought it's going to be like one sort of project for a year, but it turned out to be a very inspirational and driving force for me, for my own creativity and development career, I guess.
Cool. So let's focus on gaming for good. What is your definition of gaming for good? What would you say?
That's a very tough question. I really love this idea of games with a purpose. So this means that you're playing a game which has a very specific purpose. So, I mean, most of the games we know the purpose is entertainment, for instance. But there are really interesting games which help you in terms of strengthen your mental health or to do something good. So, for instance, to challenge climate problems or find new solutions for health-related issues, like they did in Folded. So I think games with a purpose, and in this special case, gaming for good, for a value, is something which is just really important and a different take on it.
Thank you very much. Let's move on to our second guest, because Johanna, you're a strong advocate for games for education, and there's someone else who's a strong advocate as well, and that's Adrian. So can we move on to Adrian? Hello, Adrian.
Hello.
Good to have you. Where are you joining from, Adrian?
I'm sitting in Saarbrücken, Germany. That's right next to the border to France, Luxembourg, that direction.
Cool. And you're in the office now or at home?
Oh, home office.
Home office. So, Adrian, you are the founder and CEO of iBuild, and you are the chairman of gamesAHEAD, which is an association for German games makers that coming from all areas and different angles of gaming. We'll go for, and you'll tell us more about gamesAHEAD. And I mean, CEO, chairman, lots of very important titles, but you have, so well done for that, reflective of the quality of the work that you're doing, but also you have another important title, which is that you're a winner of the Young Innovator Award in 2018. So congratulations.
2019, but
2019?
Last year.
Last year, okay, yes. Well, good for you, and congratulations about that. So what type of player are you, Adrian?
I think currently I'm quite a weird player because there's like two options for me when I'm playing. The one thing is I'm not playing very often, but when I play, it's like for way too much hours in one time, just taking like a whole weekend off and just playing. And I think currently I'm at a point where I'm playing more unfinished games than finished games because I'm so much in contact with other developers. They're just trying to get feedback on their games in development. So I'm doing very much input on early stage games.
Do you have a name in mind? Something that people watching could Google?
I think we are doing quite a lot of indie games. So there are a lot of upstarting games. One I would like to put forward is Upside Down. That is from a startup from Germany. They're currently developing it for, I think, maybe 1 or 2 years still. But they were actually like awarded to be the best startup of the games industry in Germany. And they come from the same town of developers where I'm coming from. So it's like a little bit of local proudity.
Cool. Okay, well, thank you, Adrian, and thanks for being here. Third speaker and third panelist that we have today is Leena. Hello, Leena.
Hi, Daniel.
Hey, so where are you calling us from?
I'm here in Mumbai, India.
Cool. How is it? What time is it for you now?
It's 6:30 and it's very warm here. So we are in the tropics.
Very well. So great for having you. So you're an artist, and
Yes.
you also founded an NGO that aims at raising awareness on child abduction. And in raising awareness to that cause, you created a game.
Yes.
And through that game and from that game, you've earned enormous recognition, lots of awards, including a WSA award as well. In which year? In 2019, 18?
2020.
2020.
I was there in March, yeah.
Okay, so sorry about the years. They're all wrong with me today, but that's fine. So, but well done on that. And what will be good is for you to share with us later, your journey, because you're not necessarily you weren't working in gaming at the start, but you ended with a game.
I think this space has a tremendous capacity to let people in onto very sensitive issues. And this is a space where people can come in and feel, because they're coming in because they want some experience, and they're open. And they're open to experiencing any kind of scenario. So it's also, it's a space where we can come into and talk about a serious issue and not be very preachy and not feel as if I'm trying to thumb the Bible on anybody, and make it something which they experience on their own. So that's been my experience here, and I'm loving it so far.
Well, we can see the passion, and also, I mean, it helped raising awareness and visibility on a very important cause, and well done for that. So thanks for being here. And last but certainly not least, our speaker today is Daniela. Hello, Daniela. Where are you joining from?
Yeah, I'm also joining from Graz. Yeah.
Video game capital of the world, or of Europe. So, it makes sense to have so many of you from there. So, Daniela, you are a producer and user experience designer at Bongfish. People might not know the name Bongfish, but they certainly have heard and probably have played the games of Bongfish, because they are very famous, included Flight Simulator, the very famous and long-standing Microsoft game, and World of Tanks. But you, Daniela, you did not work on those games, but you worked on another game of Bongfish, which is Smurfs Village. It's a mobile game, a very popular mobile game, and also a very popular game on a very popular, beloved brand. And you have experienced firsthand the impact of gaming to the well-being of your players. So it will be great to hear from you about that. What kind of player are you, Daniela?
Yeah, me personally, I'm also really into trying out some new indie games, because I think usually they have a very unique approach to games. So I really like that. And also every kind of game which looks beautiful in a way. So I really like either beautiful graphics or environment. So that's what really drives me while playing. So.
Do you have a name that comes to mind right now?
Yeah, like Spiritfarer or Journey. So those were really beautiful games. I can really recommend.
Thank you. So people can go and search online if they want to know more about that game. Thanks a lot. I think there's a video now that we finished the introduction to our speakers, and we'll come right after. No. I have a very strong echo now in the screen, so We'll try and solve it. Okay, so I'll just continue. But if someone from the technical side can, I have a very strong echo now on the screen. So we have very strong speakers, and with them we'll be able to cover the various angles of gaming for good. But to start with, we want to set the stage and set the context as to gaming in general, because not everyone might be familiar with gaming as an industry and gaming as a medium, and also introducing the various angles to gaming for good. So now I would like to show you some slides. So if we can present the slides that I'm sharing for everyone to see. Can someone tell me when it's live, because I can't see it? Okay. So let's first of all by giving you some context to the gaming industry. Let me just switch. Gaming is the #1 entertainment industry, no doubt about that. If you take the music industry and the cinema industry, you add them together, you still don't have the revenues of the gaming industry. It's huge, even though it's not necessarily what a lot of people considers to be the mainstream culture, or et cetera, and yet it's huge. So gaming is definitely culture, and don't be wrong about that. Second element is about the reach of gaming. There are nearly 3 billion players in the world playing a video game, and this is definitely increasing, and COVID has definitely increased the number of people who are playing games. If we only look at USA, you can see the split in genre and in demographics. It's nearly 60% of players are male and 40% are female. But if you only look, for example, at mobile gaming, you'll have a split that is more 50-50 between male and female. And when it comes to the age groups, you have 60% of the players that are below 35 years old and 40% that are above 35 years old. Okay, so if some of you in the audience thought that a gamer would be 90% a teenager who's under 18 or under 20, well, you have some of that. Some of those people are like this, but the data shows us a completely different reality and a more varied reality. Also with 15% of players being above 55 years old, okay? So again, very vast, very varied. And the truth is, why are there so many people playing? It's because there's a game for everyone, as Johanna was saying us, and she played games from all over the world. There's a huge variety. There's a game for everyone. So it's not because usually when we talk about gaming, we talk about the usual suspects of Mario and Fortnite and Minecraft. Those are great games, but they're not the only games out there. So definitely, if you haven't played or if you think that gaming is not for you, it's because you haven't found the right game for you. It's not because you can say that you don't like gaming. It's as if you were saying that you don't like movies. No, you have certain types of movies that you like and certain that you don't like. Same for gaming. When it comes to gaming having an impact and gaming for good, I see 3 different angles. The first one is that games have an impact on players, on causes that it can help increase awareness on, and game can have an impact on society. We'll cover all through all those different topics. Some data about gamers. Usually as well, the cliche of gaming, which we have to grow tired about that, but the cliche is that gaming can increase anxiety or loneliness. Well, there's a new study that was released by the University of Oxford only a few weeks ago at the end of November, where they took data from Animal Crossing, the Nintendo game that was released earlier in 2020, as well as Plants vs. Zombies. And they took actual player data, so real player data of sessions and lengths and interaction with the game, and they cross-referenced that player data with more emotional and behavioral survey about well-being and ability to see the future positively, etc., etc. And what the study is showing us is that there's a positive correlation between playing video games and the well-being of the players. So it's very interesting, and it's very new to have that kind of survey backed by actual game data and not just players saying how long they think they play. We'll go back to that study with Johanna, because she's the academics in the group, and she'll be able to share more about what is her take on that survey. Then let's focus on games that can help promoting causes and have an impact on causes. There's a lot of examples between NGOs working with bigger games, between NGOs creating games as well. So here are just a few examples. UNICEF has released a few months ago a mini game to raise awareness on kids refugees. Basically, it's called Unlock Their Potential. And the objective of UNICEF was they wanted to change the narrative around refugees and around children who are refugees as well. And they wanted the general public to have an increased empathy and to have a change in perception to kids refugees. And in order to make that change in the perception, to increase that empathy, UNICEF turned to gaming to basically put players in the shoes of a kids refugee, to showcase not only the issues that they have when they are a refugee arriving in a new country, but most importantly, to make everyone realize the potential that those refugees, before being refugees, they are kids and they have abilities and they can contribute to the country, and they need to realize their potential regardless of regardless of where they come from, because it shouldn't have anything to do with it. We should help those kids realizing their potential. So UNICEF thought that gaming would be the perfect medium to do that. Another example is WWF with Fortnite. This was a case in France, where in order to raise awareness on the fact that most of us in our daily lives are relying on resources from nature to build stuff or to live our life. So WWF created a challenge in Fortnite where players would have to win the battles without building anything, which if you play Fortnite, you realize that building is a component of winning the battle sometimes. So here they turned it into a challenge for the community. Gamers played following that, and took up the challenge. And overall, it raised this awareness about the fact that we have finite resources on the planet and we have to be careful as to how we use them. Third example is on Minecraft, where Greenpeace needed to raise awareness on a primeval forest in Poland, where they needed the public to be willing to protect that forest from commercial interests that wanted to cut the trees down to make a commerce of the wood. So Greenpeace worked with an organization where they mapped out the entire forest on Minecraft. It took them 6 weeks with a lot of people to map the forest in every single detail, every tree, every pond, every flower, all the animals were also rendered in the game. And players would be able to roam through the forest and to realize the beauty of it, and again, increase the awareness of the importance of protecting that forest. And last example I wanted to take, it's actually a project that I worked on, and it's actually a project, one of the projects that made me change my mind as to what I was doing and made me realize the impact of gaming or the impact of entertainment in general to raise awareness on causes. So we partnered with CARE, the NGO who's taking care of children across the world, and we created an event in Dragon Mania Legends, which is one of the popular game of Gameloft, where you breed dragons and you train them, you send them into battles, and then you can build your own island and expand your world, etc., etc. It's a very popular game. So we created a special event in order to raise and to help CARE. Can we play the video now, please? Thank you. So this event lasted for 2 weeks, and it attracted more than 1 million players in the event to interact with those special dragons, and we collected nearly 200,000 euros for care. So this had an immense impact on the NGO, and obviously, thanks to the community, a great impact on them as well. Moving on to the third angle on Gaming for Good, it's how games can impact society. We already know that gaming is used in education. Minecraft, that's the picture that we see here, where, with kids using Minecraft at school, and there's even a Minecraft education version. Another example that of games used in education is as follows, and we have examples of that from the WSA winners of this year, where we have 2 projects that are in competition to become, one of the best as elected by the jury in the next few days. We have EduCraft from Lithuania by Darius, Dovile, and Tadas. EduCraft is a collective learning platform based on Minecraft that enables 2nd to 8th grade school students to learn general subjects by implementing various highly immersive, creative, and interesting missions, from building a space station on planet Mars or solving pollution problems in big cities. So the game is based on scientific knowledge. So kids learn. But the game also increases the creativity and fuels creativity of the kids. And also it promotes team working. And a second project that is a winner of this year is Level Up from Daniel in the UK, where Level Up is the first educational MMORPG, so role-playing game, massively online, that profiles and engages K-12 children in school and at home through an online experience. And the particularity of that project is that the more kids play, the more their profile is updated, the more data is gathered, the more the game can offer profile-specific activities to kids that they can do with their teachers or their parents offline. Okay, so well done to those 2 winners, and good luck for them, because one of them might become and might be selected by the jury to be one of the best. But it's very interesting to see that 2 projects out of the 16 are actually Gaming for Good this year in the competition. If you want to have more information on those projects, you can go to the Expo section tab on Hopin whilst you're looking at this panel. I'm finished with the setting up the stage, and now we're going to go and have a discussion with each of our panelists to cover the different angles that I've just opened to all of you. Let's start with Daniela. Daniela, with you, we can talk about how existing, more regular and entertaining games, one would say, can be a conduit for good. So you've worked on the Smurfs Village game. Can you tell us more about that game and what the game is about?
Yep, sure. I also have some slides to share. 1 second. So can you see my slides?
I think we can, yes.
Okay, great. Yeah, so I wanted to start again with a little backstory of myself. So I personally am not coming from the gaming industry originally. So, and for me, it was really important to find a job where I can kind of work on something that is similar to my vision or to my values. And I wanted to do something good and giving back. So first, when I started in the gaming industry, I was not really sure if that's like the right fit for me. But yeah, soon I started on the game Smurfs Village, as you just mentioned. And I really learned a lot while working on that project. And it led to something big, something that was not expected at all by me. So the biggest thing I've learned while working on that game is that the community and the players who actually play the game are really, really important, and you can give back to them so much. So yeah, I would say that like community is the key. And I've worked especially with the brand of the Smurfs, which is which tries to do good on itself. So it was a bit easier, I think, having this brand and the community, like Smurfs fans all over the world, in doing something good or creating something positive. As the Smurfs values are respect, nature, friendship, and sustainability. And they also have lots of sustainability goals, and actually have also some campaigns like the Life Underwater Ocean Cleanup Program. So they're doing a lot in this direction already, which I think is great. And yeah, we also try to target these values and involve them into our games, So for example, with the Ocean Cleanup Program, as this came out, we also tried to include a really beautiful reef wonder. So it was like a huge reef wonder we added into the game. And it also came with some quests around cleaning up the ocean. And to understand this a little bit more, I might give some background about the game itself. So it's actually a builder game where you build your own village or your island and create your unique, like peaceful, happy place. And so this fit very well into our game. And we always try to include like positive topics or topics that can change something into good wherever possible. And I also talked about the community. So it was really interesting for us to see like the power of the game and the positive impact that gave it to the players. So for them, it was not only very important what kind of updates we released or what kind of topics we tackled in the game, but they were really, really engaged, and it was so nice to see like how positive this community was, and also how connected they were, like in the forums or in the social media groups. And we like had a lot of people who reached out to us, asking us for help, and also told us their like very personal, unique stories. So, for example, there was this one woman who reached out to us, and she told us that her son, who is diagnosed with autism, that he's a huge Smurf fan, and he loves playing our game, and his biggest dream is to meet the Smurfs at some point. And they knew about like some live events where people actually can meet Smurfs, but they could not find anything which was close to them. So we reached out to the brand itself and asked, okay, how can we help this family, and is there anything close by? So we let them know about all the events that are not so far away from them, and where and how they could meet the Smurfs. And actually, they could manage to go there, and one of his biggest dream came true. And they were so thankful, and it was so nice to see for us, so to read how happy this boy was when meeting them. And we also sent them some like little goodie bags and all that stuff. So and also they, like some others, told us that the game really brought generations together. Like, for example, also a mom told us that she and her daughter kind of drifted apart a bit, but they both really enjoyed playing this game. And while playing it, it brought them closer together again. So it was really nice for us to reach such beautiful stories. Yeah, and also we kind of tried to include all of that like into the game, in the meaning of changing our focus a bit. So we really tried to focus on the community and on sharing your experience. And we worked a lot with the players themselves. So we asked them what they would need or what they would like to see in the game. And as most of them really liked sharing their experience, of course, one of the biggest wishes to have in the game was a friend system. So they would be able to see other villages, or being able to rate them, or to leave a little present in your friend's village, or taking care of their plants while they were on holidays or something. So that's what we focused on, and a lot of community management itself. So not only bringing that into the game, but also working a lot with contests and sending goodie bags wherever possible. So people were most happy when we actually sent them something physical. So yeah, or something else we did, for example, we asked people to participate in the creation of art assets for the game. So we had some contests where they could actually create their own asset, and the winners were actually implemented in the game. So that was also something very, very big for the players. Yeah, I hope that answers your question.
Thank you, Daniela. Let's stay on this last slide. On the impact that everything that you've described had on your work, because the game is constantly updated. That's the beauty of a mobile game, is that there's new content coming up regularly. So can you elaborate and tell us more in details as to how you really took into account the feedback, or what impact taking into account that feedback had on the day-to-day of the team and how to run the game?
Yeah, sure. So what we actually did, we also tried to analyze the player data on a weekly basis. So we had weekly reports about player behavior, about what kind of items they enjoyed. And so this was one side, all the analytics part, which was actually automatically created by our analytics system. And then on the other side, we had our community manager, who was actually really, really close to the players, and every week send us a huge report about all the about the entire what the players really missed, or what they loved, or what they actually would like to see in the game, or what they disliked, or what their issues are at the moment. And we really tried to focus on that and to listen to that. So over the years, we really tried to include all the feedback we got. I mean, you can't actually include everything, but we really tried to tackle as many of the requests as possible. So
thank you. There's a question from the chat. I think it's great to take it. It's from Yusuf Shunan, who's sending the question from the Maldives, and his question is basically on pay-to-win games, or the model of games that mobile games that are freemium and are offering players the ability to pay in order to advance levels in the games. So can you share with us your experience with Smurfs Village about how you handle payment with the community, and how you manage the balancing between people who do play and can have and go further in the game quicker, and the ones who do not play? How do you balance the two? And thanks, Yusuf, for your question. And don't hesitate, if there's more questions, please share them on the chat.
Yeah, thanks also for the question. So so pay to win. I mean, in general, I'm working in the mobile sector, so their free-to-play games are the most popular, I would say, and also some of them the most evil in a way. So some of them really work also with gambling mechanisms and all of that. So and of course that's a topic, and but we really tried. I probably forgot to say, but when the game itself, Smurfs Village, we did not develop it from start. We took over the game after it was already on the market for 6 years. So, and back then, all the paying mechanisms and everything was a bit different than the approach we have nowadays. So when we took over the game, we also analyzed, of course, all the mechanisms that were implemented in the game. And we first of all got rid of aggressive advertisement, for example. So the game had a lot of these interstitials that pop into your face at times where you really don't want them to see. And you had to be patient and wait for 30 seconds, and then you could continue playing without getting anything of it. And that was, of course, to tackle all the non-paying players. But we thought that's, first of all, really annoying and kind of aggressive. And our approach was more really in kind of pleasing the community in a way that we focus on what makes a fun game and what players actually enjoy in the game, and thought that on the long run, more players will be kept in the game in this way. And we tried really to focus on something that's fair for the players. So what we had, of course, there was all the in-app purchases. So player, of course, could purchase and pay for certain items or assets, but we always gave them the opportunity to have rewarded advertising. So that means players who did not want to pay or who did not or who couldn't afford anything, they always had the possibility to actually watch ads when they wanted, but always receive something back, like premium currency or other items or whatever. So we tried to really balance it out in a way, and this was really well received by the community.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Daniela. Let's move on to a second angle. Because Daniela, you've managed to leverage a game and have it have an impact on the players. But Leena has worked with a game producer to produce a game because she had a cause at the heart, and she produced a game out of it. So Leena, can you share with us your experience on what it is to create a game from scratch to raise awareness on a key issue? You're not from gaming originally, so how did you got into gaming, and how did you find the right partner to create that game? I think you probably have to unmute.
Sorry, yeah, great, sorry. I'm going to take Daniela's cue, and I'm just going to talk a little bit about myself. I'm an artist. And for me, it all started when I entered a red light district about 12 years back. And it was a moment which didn't leave me. And I realized I was really sensitive to the plight of a girl who's standing there and who has to sell herself because, she's been trafficked into that space. So, and that whole subject became really big in all my artworks. So I'm going to screen share here. I'm going to just talk a little bit about just a second, I can't see it. Just a second. Sorry. So it started with me about the issue. This first slide here I have telling you the big issue we have on exploitation and trafficking. And these are the kind of learnings I found when I entered into the space of anti-trafficking and all my friends who were working in the red light districts. And so I said, what could I do to bring something different to the space? So I created a public artwork. It was a silhouette of a girl, black, because it's a black hole into which millions of girls disappear into the face of the earth. And it's a public art project which turned into a guerrilla art project and into this mass engagement. And we have about now nearly 5,000 stencils across the country. But the whole premise of the work, when I was trying to create this engagement, I realized that I would really have to create, have to use the art of the narrative building and art to really get into an empathic space with the audiences, create empathy amongst the audiences. And that led me into the Game for Change space. I accidentally came upon it, actually. I came upon it as I did a crowdfunding, and I did a crowdfunding for an augmented reality app. Why an app? Because it was 2015, and India was already seeing this really boom in smartphone users. In fact, the latest figure is India is supposed to have 800 million smartphone users by 2022. That's the kind of audience one can have if you really create something powerful for the mobile phone. So because I was setting out to create an augmented reality app, but I had this table full of summer interns sitting with me and who were all kind of wrinkling their nose with an augmented reality app. And I was like wondering what to do. And that's when I was introduced to a Game for Change. And I just loved it at the power of the narrative to create an immersive experience. And I was introduced to this most amazing person who's the developer of my game. And from then on, it was really it was a journey because I'm an outsider. I wanted to create a narrative, and I told him we want to create a game on trafficking, which he was really apprehensive about because it's a very dark and very difficult topic, and you are straddling a really tightrope about because trafficking is already very exploitative and voyeuristic, and at the same time we wanted to make sure it's a game. So he had to straddle between how could he make the gameplay sensitive enough that we didn't turn it exploitative and voyeuristic, and we did that. And I introduced him to. I took him into the red light district. I took him into rural Bengal, where we work with the community of girls, of survivors, who got trafficked into the cities. He met them, he spoke to them, and we sort of did a research on their day-to-day activities. Ladies in the red light, what's the schedule in the day? What is it that makes them do what they do, and why do they have to do it? And what's it that they are, what are they scared of? So all those elements came, and all those learnings came into the gameplay. And with that, we created the missing game for a cause. I'd love to share the trailer to the game. Can I have the first trailer, please? Play the number 1 slide, please. Hello? It's now been translated into 12 Indian languages. And we did a Bengali version. And talking about impacts, within a week of the Bengali version coming into the markets, we saw it became the top of the charts in Bangladesh. And the game itself has had about 1 million organic downloads across the world. And we've had we've had a professor from Sweden who's actually done a whole thesis on the game because of it being a diverse game. And he did a study and we found out that actually we've had countries who are high on trafficking who played it really, the maximum number of players beyond India and the US. We had Philippines, Brazil, Indonesia, as other countries, and Bangladesh, of course, because of the Bengali version, who really embraced the game. We've had reviews from across the world. We've had reviews telling us this is one of the most important games that had to be played because of its empathy building. I hope I'm still within the context of the question because there's so much to share when we get around to talking about the game.
No, but you are, Leena, and I also advise people to just go and download Missing. They can search it from the Apple Store and the Android Store because it's a very strong and powerful game. I mean, the first minute in the game, you're just hooked into the topic, and what happens at the start is super difficult, and it just gets you and grips you and opens your mind. So well done on this, Leena. How did you find the collaboration? Because, you're an artist, you're a storyteller, you want people to know, but then on the other side, you're working with a game producer who wants to know, what mechanic he has to put in place in order to tell the story in the way that he's used to. So how did you find the collaboration? How did you find that common ground to create the two?
You won't believe it. I'm actually too much of an artist to get into the technicals. I just had this burning desire to do something. And it was as if I was painting my canvas. So I created the silhouette. It's actually public artworks, which are 21 feet high. They are iron and steel structures set against the sky. And when I was actually on a kind of a roadblock, because in India I couldn't traverse into this public art space, and I couldn't get my artworks out into the public. I turned it into a guerrilla art project and literally splattered them all across the country. I said, why am I stopping? What's stopping me from engaging people if that's my main mission? And I did a crowdfunding, and I crowdfunded for an app when I realized the augmented reality app was really not going to be that successful, because 2015 augmented reality apps were still not so successful or very common as they are today. And I changed into it being a game for a cause. And I meet somebody, I like the way he thinks. He sent me a deck about how we could make a gameplay of it. And I'm very intuitive, and I very intuitively moved on. And I didn't get into his technical details. And I know he had a lot of difficulty. Especially I faced a lot of difficulty in translating the game into 12 regional languages in India, because Unity had never seen any game translated in Indian languages. So we were the first one to help them do it for Indian language.
Wow. And the game became the success that you've described, with the millions of downloads very quickly, very organically.
Yeah.
Did the success of the game change the way you would envisage running the NGO?
Mm-hmm.
Did something pivot with the success of the game from your original plans?
Oh, yes. It's always that, like I'm telling you, we keep building on. So the game has become a very essential part of my awareness program, which we've been rolling out in the communities and schools. And usually when you go into a school and you have a room full of children, it's very difficult to hold their attention. The best thing I can do is put on the trailer, and there's pin drop silence. And then we actually go into the game and we address issues like what is trafficking, who could be trafficked, who could a trafficker be, how are you responsible for trafficking, with all the key 5 questions of what a generation should know about trafficking. We address that, and at each moment we start a little snippet of the game, and then we take them into the conversation. So that's something which we have done across India, and we have done it for 35,000 students so far. And now, if we have actually, under COVID, we've been really strengthening our whole school program. And the game is, of course, an essential part of it. They'll play it. We've embedded questions in it for data, for understanding of behavioral patterns. Because mind shaping is a very important tool today for really creating a more conscious society. Because like somebody said, you will learn something from any game you play, irrespective of if it's game for good or not. There is some subconscious subtuning which goes in within every game you play. So why shouldn't we use it for a good, So with that premise, I think it's going well, and so it's now going to be a part of our awareness program in schools and data collection initiatives.
Well done, Leena. We'll come back to the game a bit later, once we'll have the more open conversation. So thanks a lot and well done. Huh? From India to playing the world. So Johanna, can we have a moment with you now? I mean, what's very interesting, I think, from what Leena is telling us is that, it's a game for a cause coming from India, but it's not a game for the Indian players necessarily. And, from you having played so many games in the world from different regions and countries of the world, do you see that game have a country of origin, or that they don't have a country of origin and they can speak to the world because gaming is a grammar? What did you find?
I would say both sides. So first of all, thank you for this question. Very interesting take on that. I think absolutely both sides, because on the one side, I think games should be considered as cultural goods. And what I can see, like if I read a book, or I immediately know who's the author of the book, and most probably where's the author coming from. If I watch a movie, it's very likely that I know the director or some actors, and I have a sense where this movie was made, and I'm also interested in. But what I felt when I started with this project, people were not so interested in that. Like, where are the games made actually? Who were the developers? But I believe, and I think this resonates really well what Leena just told, that the developer and the developer story behind that game is super important. So thanks so much for sharing that, Leena. And so I do believe that as gamers, I mean, we are wasting sometimes hours, more than like dozens of hours maybe in a game. So why not spend a few minutes to find out who actually was the developer and where were they coming from and what was the inspiration behind that game, like we do in books or in movies. So that's the one hand. But on the other hand, it's a digital good. And the power of a digital good is that we can spread it all over the world. So it's something which is really, really powerful, because it does not matter where it was developed to spread it everywhere. This is the other side. So I think both are very powerful points. And I like to see, to be honest, sometimes smaller games which share more personal stories and also cultural aspects, because this is a very powerful way how I learn and how I get to know different cultures. But again, it's a digital good, and it's for me so easy to travel through games to different parts, to different minds eventually.
So when you say that games are cultural good, does that mean that, to your mind, we should protect it? We should encourage and promote diversity, much like, this is happening in other cultural industries and cultural areas, especially Europe, being a strong protector of culture in general. Should it be the same with gaming?
Yeah. So one of the good things at the moment, thanks due to the democratization of the game engines, everyone is able to program games. This comes with downsides, on the other hand. So this also means that since sometimes the code base is not designed in a way that it is surviving the next 10 years. So for me, like, one issue I was facing was actually I was not able, like, when I started this project, to discover games from all around the world. Sometimes I was related to projects which were developed like 1, 2, 3 years ago, and they were not playable anymore because of so many updates and technical challenges. So it is a challenge we're going to face when we want to archive our games as digital goods. How are we going to do them? Because what happens if I don't have access to the controller, to the console anymore, or the game engine it was developed with? So that's why I'm promoting open source in that case, but that's a little bit of a different manner, I guess.
Clear. And also, you're known for making a strong link between gaming and learning. Mm-hmm. Can you elaborate, what you see from your research, how game can help and spread learning or facilitate learning? What is your take?
Absolutely. So I do believe that games have the power to teach things like no other mediums can teach them to us. So they have the potential, like it was also seen in the example of Leena, that empathy is taught. This is something, I mean, if I watch a documentary about something or read a really good book about a topic, yes, it gives me a feeling of immersion, but immersion can't be so great like in a game where actually I have to make decisions or where I am the shoe of somebody else. So I think games are really like one of the few mediums where I can teach empathy by being forced to make decisions. And yeah, so that's the one aspect. And also on the other side, I believe not only games, but also the game technologies, such as the game engines, are a very powerful tool for education. So for instance, I mean, even though we are not like developing like proper games with all the game design elements, but we're using Unity or Unreal, which are really, really good and user-friendly game engines, software pieces to develop games. We use them to develop educational experiences. For instance, a physics laboratory where I can make unseen things seen, where where you can explore experiments which would be otherwise too expensive or too dangerous or hard to replicate. And this is actually a very powerful tool from the other perspective.
And do you see, I mean, I'm going to drop, like a very strong word. I know we've discussed it the other day, and there's a lot of debate behind that word, and I think it's important that we raise it. But so, do you think gamification is something that is here to stay and is something to explore for, and gamification being to bring some of the game components in areas where usually there's no games, where it's about, I don't know, interaction between a company and a customer, for example. Mm-hmm. And this was a term that was coined by the marketing industry, who loves putting terms and buzzwords on everything. But what is your take on that? And knowing also that it's an insult for a lot of the gaming people.
Yeah. So as you already mentioned, I have maybe not like hearing gamification doesn't trigger all positive feelings, to be honest, because this is a term which has been misused, to put it nicely, by a lot of people. So let me explain it from a different point of view. So for instance, also the wording of serious games, educational games, have been, from my perspective, misused quite often in the past. When I would develop, I'm a game developer, right? And when I would like to develop a physics game, who should be involved? A physicist, right? Because if I, as a game developer, would make a physics game, I swear this would be the most fun game you can play, but it won't teach you anything at all about physics. But on the other hand, if a physicist would develop a game, this would be super educational, but this is not engaging or fun at all. This could teach you something, but doesn't come with proper game design experience. I mean, it took me so many years to get to know how to learn how to develop games. It's not something which you can read in books and you're just adding points and leaderboards and rankings and that's it. So I do believe that to develop great games for a specific purpose, whatever this purpose is, for instance, teaching physics, requires a game design expert on the one hand and the application expert like the physicist on the other hand. And this is how great games are involved. And the more disciplines come together, that's what I love about games. It's a super interdisciplinary field. The more disciplines come together, like art or history, the more interesting topics are emerging out of that. And here I see absolutely the benefits. So I don't think it's wise to work like they did in some gamification experiments, to work with a recipe, to add a few points when you look at the website for a specific time and, be successful as a game. This is, from my point of view, not how it works. There should be a proper game designer who maybe evolves a nice story around it, gives it a meaning to make a meaningful gamification experience. Sorry for this long take.
No, it's clear. And what you're telling us is that there's a world of opportunities in front of us. But it's an multidisciplinary experience and collaboration. So thanks a lot. And I want to also have some time with Adrian, because also Adrian is involved in expanding the areas of gaming. And I would like to start my first question for you, Adrian, because you have another title, which is a crazy input scientist. And can you elaborate about that as to what you mean by this and in relation to gaming?
Sure. I just loved when Johanna talked about interdisciplinary stuff, because I actually studied intermedia design. So combining different kinds of digital media and creating new stuff. And what I did in my studies in the last 5 years was to always create experiences with new interactions with your PC, gaming console, mobile devices, or whatever. And so I made whole arcade machines. I made complete rooms for museums that were just simulating earthquakes and all that stuff. And we always had like different kinds of inputs and interactions with our users to convey different kinds of informations and also sometimes just entertainment.
And do you want to talk us more about your project, I Build It? That's the one you won also the award, the WSA award for.
Sure, I'm gonna share my presentation for that. So yeah, the I Build It Creator is also one of the projects that stemmed from my background as a crazy input scientist. So I was just fascinated by the devices of eye tracking. In this picture, you can see it with these small red buttons down there. These are lights that know where you're looking on the monitor. And with that, we are controlling our PCs. We are doing that because our target user is a person with physical disabilities. And actually, I'm quite often making fun of this because we are one of the disruptive startups, but we're always saying that we don't use the digital transformation not as a solution, but this is actually a problem for our users. Because more and more we build more digital interfaces, digital interactions, digital communication, but in way too many cases, we don't think about inclusion when we do it. And if you don't have the possibility to use your hands, to use a keyboard, a mouse, or a touchpad or whatever, you are put out of all these options to interact with other people. And this exclusion brings a lot of depression, dementia, for inactivity of your brain and all that. So this also has an effect for people with physical disabilities, not just in the digital world, but also in the physical world where they should be able to interact and should be able to get good, inclusive and good paying jobs for the stuff they are doing. And we had all these different kinds of problems, and we found one solution that addressed all of them together. And this was the I Build It Creator, an eye-tracked 3D program for people with physical disabilities. The reason why it's a creative program is just my background, and we wanted to start with a nice, easy to understand project to show the possibilities of the hardware and of the technology and also the games we are doing. So what we did was we took the core platform of eye tracking and we reinvented it to work better in different kinds of interfaces, because we found a discrepancy between how good the eye tracking hardware is and how, let's say, not so good the eye tracking software is. So we tried to reinvent how you're interacting with eye tracking and with the PC. And that was the focus of my research in the last years. What we then did was enabling our players to create block models like Lego or Minecraft, because it's a very easy to understand and to learn concept, to connect bricks and build something with it. And then we gave them the chance to share, co-create, and comment all these block models in an inclusive and worldwide community where you don't even know if the person you're talking to has a disability or not, because we are connecting it to a lot of different outside communities outside of our own program. And in the last step, we enable our users to get back into the physical world, even if they are so disabled that they're maybe lying in bed and can't move or whatever. So we give them the chance via 3D printing and automation of the whole process in our program to create physical objects in plastic, wood, chocolate, and all the materials that are now possible in 3D printing. To just get an overlook how this would look, In the program, this is just a screenshot from a pyramid landscape. We chose it because it shows this character of people working together and building great, unimaginable things. And in this program, you would just use your eyes. You don't need your hands. You don't need a keyboard, a mouse, or whatever. You can build everything you want. You can interact with other people. You can type in text with visual keyboards on the PC just with your eyes and all that. And this is just the first project we see as like the Light Tower project to show how important it is and also how easy it is to develop games and other software with an inclusive background, to always think about everyone. Because in Germany, it's only 10%, but worldwide we have 15%. We are an association with currently about 50 to 60 startups and companies that are building games in various ways and have a game background. So first of all, of course, games like Fortnite that have an entertainment background in the first place, but also, like Damien, you showed, have some very interesting new formats put on top of them, and some cool ideas brought on top of the entertainment, even though the entertainment and entertainment games are important too and good too. But then there's also serious games. There is a lot of talk about it, like games that teach you something, even develop your skills as maybe a worker, or when you're working in an ambulance, like in this example, that are teaching you specific skills with game mechanics and make it fun. But we at gamesAHEAD have another quite big focus, because I think like 3/4 of our companies and startups are working in the field of technology transfer. That means that we use all our background and knowledge we have from developing games to influence complete different industries. Like the biggest example like here is virtual reality. Virtual reality in the way we know it now would not exist if we hadn't brought a lot of innovation from the games industry into this field. And also far-fetched industries like digital currencies like Bitcoin and stuff like that are currently running on graphics cards that were built for video games. So we are just trying to put our expertise from video games into completely different industries and be like a motor for innovation.
So, and how many serious games, health-related serious games, did you say that have been put together with gamesAHEAD?
Oh, quite a lot, because we also have game jams. That is a format where we develop health games over just a weekend. And we established this format in Germany 3 years ago. And I think it's definitely, I would say, above 100 games we did about serious games and health games in the last years in our region.
Wow, well done. Thank you, Adrian. For the remaining time, we'll open the discussion. I think, you know, as mentioned this morning by Peter Brock in the opening session of WSA, you know, it's all about acting now to solve the pressing issues. So I would like our discussion to focus on advices that we can give to everyone who's listening to us, so that, you know, they have everything that they need, or that we can share your learnings so that they can have and start their own projects and have the impact on their own. So the first question I'd like to ask all of you is, in this field of gaming for good that we've talked about, each of you in your respective areas, can you share a mistake that you made and a learning that you've taken from it, so that the people, our friends listening, do not repeat that mistake? Who wants to go first? Daniela or Leena?
I could go. I mean, I don't know if my mistakes are regular mistakes because, like I said, I was an accidental publisher. I came in from an outside space. My mistake was not really analyzing my the gameplay audience and the kind of reviews and the problems they were facing, and not being actively involved in that space. It took me a while to warm up to that and understand the importance of analytics. And but it really helped me once I did, and that's the reason why we went into a game too. What missing? Yeah.
And you have also a video to share with us. Definitely,
yes.
we'll cover that. It will be good to see the second game.
And it's a very important part which one should always be tuned in on.
So here about listening to the audience and their feedback. And Daniela, a mistake that you want to openly share, and most importantly the learning. As the saying says, you never lose, either you win or you learn. Huh? But do you want to share something with us? I think you're muted. You need to.
So there you go. Sorry. Yeah, I think it's very similar to what Leena just said. I also really underestimated the power of analytics or listening to the community. With our community manager, as I mentioned, we had a great insight of, we gained great insights of what the community's mood is, or what they're feeling, or what they're wanting. So yeah, I totally agree on that. So that's very important to focus on quite early on. And over the time, we even developed a little group of beta testers who were kind of the heavy players of our game. And we had a very personal contact with them on a daily basis. And we learned so much. So I would really recommend, as Leena did, try to listen to your players and try to involve them into the process very early on.
Thanks for the advice. Johanna, do you have an advice to share as well?
Yeah, I also think especially the constant, do not overlook your players. This is something which is I think can be just repeated and cannot be stressed enough. It's so important. I mean, that you have a player-driven approach when developing, that you work closely with your players. And I mean, of course, it's about the developer's artistic vision, but you can only express a vision to a lot of people when also the players want to play it. So I think this needs to be very well in balance.
And Adrian?
I think it's very important to be open to change your gameplay quite a lot, because what the great thing about our health game jams is that we are having a whole production of a whole game in a very short amount of time. And we had one game with a group of maybe 8 people, and we developed for 1.5 days and did very much thinking about the stuff we wanted to tell our players, and not how we are telling them. We fixed our gameplay at the beginning, tried to do it, and then after one day we tried the game. We're okay, when did this stop making fun? And then we had to figure out how to reinvent our whole gameplay. And you really need to have this openness and ask this question does it still make fun quite a lot of times, even when you're at a longer schedule.
And Adrian, since you're with us now, you still have the microphone open. On the other topic, on other advice that we could give everyone who's watching. So once you have a game, how do you grow your audience on that game? Because it's all about bringing the game to people.
Yeah. I think one very important thing to understand about this is that there is very seldomly something like a game for just a different region or whatever. When we go in the games industry, we always know as a developer, you're always acting globally. You always have other companies, big companies, maybe from Canada, or just a couple of developers from Korea that are trying to get to the same audience. And you always have to think about how can you filter this broad, wide international audience to the people that fit to your game. So you don't have to address a lot of people that you just push into a funnel, and in the end you just address 5% of the people you spend, and you've spent time of all the other 95%. So you just have to think, like, how can I focus all my efforts into small groups, small audiences, and grow it organically when you don't have like a big publisher with a lot of money behind you. And that it's especially for early starters most of the time not the case. Mm-hmm. So really get focused on who's your audience and how to address them in a nice way.
Daniela and Leena, advices also on how to grow the audience and drive that impact that we all seek.
Yeah. I mean, like I think Daniela did say that community is very important, to build your own community. And with everything what we are doing, we are building our community because they are the ones who will be your torchbearers. And they are the ones who will take your word forward, especially when you're talking about an issue. They are the ones who become your spokespeople. So in the early days when the Missing Game for a Cause was doing so well, but I realized that the gaming community was totally anonymous. And they had no intentions for letting anybody know who they are. So that for me was a downside. I didn't realize that. And so though we had a lot of interactions on social media and wherever else, and we got a lot of good coverage for it, like we got awards for it, but there was no way for me, it was a one-way traffic. I couldn't really reach out to them. So that's another reason why I kind of did a Kickstarter for the game too. So I said, let me do a Kickstarter so that I can have a pocket full of people whom I can talk to and who can be so passionately driven by the cause, what we are doing, and who could be the torchbearers, who could be the spokesperson for every missing girl. And so that's what we did. We did a Kickstarter for the game too. And we had 500 people who joined us from across the world. I did get the most tremendous media coverage for it, which I think no game in India has ever received. Everybody's very, very jealous. We got the top gaming industry media covering us. And so I totally believe in the power in the community building and interactions and keeping your audiences up to date with your emotion. What are you trying to say? Why are you saying it? Your new learnings and everything that goes with it.
So Kickstarter is great advice here, also to start building that early community at the start. So now you were telling us that you're about to launch your second game from your NGO.
Actually,
so you have.
Yeah, I could show you all. We have just put it on Steam for wish listing. So I'd love to share that with you all.
And everyone should go on Steam.
So the game one starts with the girl opening her eyes in the dark world of a brothel. Game two, it's actually before that. It's like when the girl is, it's set in a village. So it's set in, let's see if we get that. But I'm not sure. Actually, I just have to request them to play the game two. They're playing it directly. I hope they're listening to me. Can we have the second slide, please?
we can really see how you've increased the production values to the game as well. Huh?
Yes, it's been a journey.
Well done. We have received a question on the chat, and I think I'm going to have you, Johanna, to answer it. It's from Dorothy Gordon, who's from Ghana. And she's basically asking, why do so many games, even for small kids, involve fighting in some form or another? There is always you versus the other, and you do something to get them and get points. Even math for kids requires shooting in some form or of another. Can you elaborate from what you've seen and why, and also what is the alternative?
Yeah, thank you for this question. I try to keep it rather short. So what we know from game design, that there are different types of players. So there are on the one hand the competitive players. There's, however, also very collaborative players. And I feel in the past there was a strong focus on competition, but I see this changing quite a lot. So I see more and more diverse games coming and spreading, and I see it especially also in games with a purpose and educational games. So I think especially by now there are so many wonderful games out there which support other forms or game mechanics, not action loaded, like we have in the movies. I mean, there are a lot of action games, but there are also documentary and romantic movies and so on, and so that's in games. We just to have take a little bit of a closer look at the different genres, as it was already mentioned in the very beginning. So I think more will come, but many are already out there which support different interaction forms.
Thank you very much. We're near the end of this panel, so thank you very much. And maybe I can just ask, what's next for you? So Leena, you have your second game coming up. So we urge people to go on Steam and like and wish the game. Daniela, what's up for you?
Yeah, unfortunately, I can't talk about it yet. So yeah, maybe for another day.
But you're working on a new game.
Yes, exactly. We're working on a new game. Yeah. Right.
No details, but definitely interesting to see. And for you, Adrian, you're going to release I Build It?
Yeah, we are releasing in the next year with early access and just growing our community worldwide.
Perfect. So good luck with that. And for you, Johanna, what's coming up?
Yeah, we just received some funding from Epic Games, which are the makers of Fortnite, to make an educational VR game. So we're excited to do that.
Amazing. So watch this space. Well done for the work that you've done and for your contribution in the world of gaming for good. And thanks a lot to all of you of joining today. And Matthias, over to you to announce the next panel. So thanks a lot for your attention, everyone.